Testing, one, two, three, testing. Testing, testing, testing. No. Testing. Testing, one, two, three.
Hello.
Test.
Once you start wearing hearing aids, these things get kind of bulky.
I know. Those remind me, that's almost exactly what I used to wear at work. So I wore those for like 25 years. And it's like, if I never wear those things again, I'll be happy.
Test, test, test. You hear that?
Testing.
Check my mic here. Let me get my mic working. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get underway because actually we have a large amount of submissions tonight, so we'll start the show a little early. I apologize. I'll be done with my cough drop in just a minute, too. Few announcements before we start. Upcoming meetings. Next week, April 7th, Good Friday, so the clubhouse will be closed. We are going to be showing online a rebroadcast of Evoking Emotion by Michael Chinichi, which we did back 2 years ago. And I went and picked that one because I really found it fascinating then. He specializes in really just different ways of looking at the standard things we photograph, different views, different angles that just make it a whole different picture. And I found that fascinating and really educational, so it's a good presentation. That'll be next Friday. April 14th, going to be a live lecture here, how to take better bird pictures. And Alan Isengard is his kid with a Sony is his handle on Instagram. He's a Clevelander and whatnot. And I keep wanting to say he's an expert bird photographer. It's really hard because the kid is 15 years old. And I look at his pictures and I am it's aggravating because I am a little older than 15 and he does great work. So Alex, it should be really interesting to hear him. He'll be talking all about bird photography, and that'll be April 14th live. April 21st is our annual election of officers and board members. The board should be here. Prospective officers, current officers will be here as well for you to ask questions and whatnot. We had been doing this in the past during COVID remotely, and we're gonna start going back to live then, and that's our yearly meeting. April 28th is a Zoom presentation by Molly Isaacs, and very interesting. She does, it's called Awake Your Light, and it's all about the use of light in photography, which I think is the key to photography. And she just brings up times of day, whatnot, different types of life to do all different kinds of shots. And it was just basically, I've been over her website and it's fascinating. I urge you to take a look and join us that evening. That'll be live in the clubhouse as well as from home. I'll send out a link. Our next SIG meeting, April 6th, first Thursday, is astrophotography, where Dave Bush is going to be talking about everything related to astrophotography, and we'll break into smaller groups then to discuss camera-specific issues. Spring classes, still a little time. Fundamentals starts April 8th. Intro to Photoshop editing starts April 5th. Lightroom is already underway, so still time to get some last-minute enrolling in those spring courses. Field trips. The field trips are starting to come back again. We have a number of them coming up. There's a lot more on the website, information about each one of these. We'll be going back again to Sandy Ridge, which is one of the Lorain County Metro Parks, loaded with birds. I am not a bird shooter. I like the locale. This, I am told, is one of the birds there as well. So just a great opportunity. Alex will tell us more about those. B&O Roundhouse we've been to before, April 30th, field trip coming up. Out on West 3rd, really interesting field trip again. That's coming up. More information on the website. The Wilds, I think, still has openings. Members, students, and families now. There'll be more information there. That is actually the park down in Columbus, I think run by the Columbus Zoo. The Darkroom Door, which is really a tremendous publication. It's glossy and the photographs are great. There's a lot of images in there, articles and whatnot. The fall 2022 edition is currently available, and you could get to it through our CPS website. Just the homepage, there's a link to click and see the new issue of the Darkroom Door. And of course, this and all of our regular public meetings, you can get to our YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel, you click on the YouTube icon on the front page of our website. And when you get to YouTube, just go to the live section, and all of our things in date order will be there. So, without then any further ado, let me get up and let me explain tonight first. We had a tremendous response to this. We had 24 people, 71 images, which are a lot of images to get to. We plan on doing this a lot more, so don't worry. What we're going to do is, this is not judging, this is a critique. It's just open comments. We have a panelist of 3. We've got Coleman Rosenberg, Chris Bosworth, and Bill Keaton from our club, who are just going to take turns and as a group, comment on the images. We are also going to be able to make adjustments to the images based on their comments in real time on the screen, if needed to. And it's a fun evening. Everyone learns from it. What I plan on doing is, the order of the pictures is determined by Microsoft. I'm sorry. It's just alphabetically by first name. But next time we'll start reverse alphabet as well. Because there are so many pictures, and I don't want to leave anyone out, what we'll do is we'll do the first two pictures of everyone. And when we get to the end, if there's still time, we'll go back and do the third one of everyone. That way everyone is guaranteed we get to your images. So, without any further ado then, let me give, it's the Coleman, give the pointer back, and let me bring up our list for tonight. And Ann Williams is our first. So we start off with Ann's pictures. And if you're in the audience as well, you're welcome to make any comments on your images or jump up and down or whatever you want to do. We have a mic that we could bring to you. So this is the first image.
All right, this is a nice shot of record, recording a person that you probably were out hiking with. They climbed up there. That's pretty cool. I'd like to see their face. So if this is supposed to show the person in the environment, you need to work on lightening the face a little bit, maybe even crop in a little bit. That bright green in the bottom, you could lose some of that because being that bright, it's kind of overwhelming. So maybe crop that in a little bit, and that would also help benefit in making the subject, the person in the photograph, a little bit larger. Does anybody else want to comment?
You could also try lowering the highlights a little and raising the shadows. Maybe you could get that person's face.
Yeah, it is, but it's,
Yeah, there's a face.
you know, today with Lightroom, they have that masking tool that you could actually
Right.
try picking the person out.
Right,
And,
you could, now that, let's see if it does it with that person. See,
Yeah.
it says that person is so small, it says no people found.
But you could do a brush.
But you could do
Yeah,
a brush,
yeah.
you could just take that, or basic brush, and then you could make the brush really small. And open up your shadows. And let's see. Let me get rid of that thing. Okay. So that, yeah, that would be before we do our, yeah, that's before. And that's afterwards. And you can see, as Bill said, just opening up that face a little. And the face is just normally in the shade there, but
Yeah.
here we go.
It's one of those contrasty days.
Yeah.
Hard to do. Yeah, flash would lighten it up too.
Yeah, a flash, but just these little adjustments in Lightroom, you could see made a big difference.
It's a really nice shot. It's got a lot of interest. The steps are interesting. The scene itself with the trees and the shade and the light. But then again, you know, same sort of thing. It's such a contrasty day. It's hard to, yeah, it's a little better cutting back on the highlights a little bit. And again, maybe bringing a little. I like the silhouettes of the trees, but I'd try see what they look like with a little more detail in them too. Oh, now that brought out the sky too, which was nice.
Yeah, just a reminder, if you have a comment from the audience, let us know. Raise your hand so we can get a mic to you, because people at home won't hear it.
Yeah, that's the crop I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all minor adjustments, but you could see sometimes just a little bit of tweaking. There's nothing else you could do. This day was just contrasty, but very nice. Okay. Go to Barb Hubble. Yeah.
So what's not to like about a sunset, right? We all love sunsets. What is to like is the horizon is level. First thing always is, did you get your horizon level? The reflection looks great in the sun. It's always hard to, to keep that exposure right in the sun. I personally would wait for it to go down, or me it would be going down. Some of your morning people, it might be a sunrise. I like the placement of the horizon and the placement of the sun. I just would like to see the sun down a little bit more. I would probably remove that little flare spot, easy, yeah, right there. Just Yeah, take our Lightroom class. Actually, take Photoshop. I think we already started Lightroom. It looks a little noisy, so I don't know if that's the way you processed it to get it in here, but it looks a little noisy from here. You gotta love sunsets.
That's Lakeview Park in Lorraine. And I worked very hard to get that, get the water not flowing out. I do that a lot in my pictures, the water comes flowing out.
Okay, on this one, I like the scene. The rocks on the left are some interesting forms and shapes. And I think that's more where your photo is at. So I think the path going in, you need to keep that. But everything to the right of the tree here, I'm not sure that adds to the photo. So if you came in and cropped it, now your eyes are concentrating more on the shapes and forms of the rock, and that path isn't centered, and it just has a little bit more balanced composition, I think.
I think you could punch up the contrast a little bit too. It seems a little flat. Yeah.
In all these little adjustments we make in Lightroom, I got to emphasize, this is not a camera mistake. Your camera was doing perfectly. It's not a setting that you use. It's just that's the limitation of the camera with such light and dark areas. With the post-processing, we're able to compensate for that a little.
Save those
Oh.
changes? Do you save those changes so you can send them off to the folks? Do you save
No.
those changes?
No.
Oh, okay.
Those are just changes and gone.
Yeah, because maybe somebody
Yeah.
might want those changes that doesn't have Lightroom.
I'm available after to make changes.
For a slight charge.
Hey, we've got Bob Kowaleski.
Well, this is, we're seeing a lot of contrast tonight. I think, I don't know. I think I'd cut back a little bit on the whites. They kind of draw, yeah, that's a little better. I think they drew your eye weight just too much from the rest of the image at their highest level.
I respectfully disagree, Coleman.
Okay.
To me, what I really enjoy about the picture is that fog and the white. I might even darken the blacks down a little bit,
Uh-huh.
make it a little darker. Not too much because you don't want to lose the detail, but it's very mysterious, you know.
It is. And that, well, actually darkening the shadows sort of also did what I was seeing. It also lightened or darkened, or gave a little more detail to the shadows that were in the white area, which I thought was good.
No, this one's mine. Yeah, real beautiful landscape scene. This time of year, it's hard to make a good landscape without leaves on the trees. I'm a little divided because I'm divided because it divides around on either side. I don't know if it looked better to pick one or the other, although that's probably what, this is Bob still, right? That's probably what he was looking for. And in doing that, I think what I would have done is used a wider angle lens or backed up more to see more of the streams on either side, or choose one or the other. And with our wonderful Lightroom and so forth, I would probably tweak that sky a little bit, just not crazy, but maybe give it a little bit more blue to it. What happens if you take the highlights down? That didn't do a lot.
Do a select sky.
Yeah. Not, you know, but people getting real crazy with skies. Not a lot, just a little bit. Bob, did you shoot this with a polarizer?
Bob's not here, he's on
Oh.
vacation.
Okay.
I'll be shooting more
The only reason,
landscapes.
Oh, yeah, D. Hayes might,
the only reason I was asking about the polarizer is if you notice on the left and somewhat on the right, you've got the sky is bright, it's whiter, and that sometimes that happens with a wide angle lens with a polarizer. Bob's out shooting more winners.
Try cropping some off the left. Kind of, I don't know who said that, Coleman, or yeah, maybe even a little more. Get that a little bit off center. And to me, that's more interesting, but
I wondered if you picked up the bottom a little bit. Crop it from the bottom? Crop it from the bottom, yeah.
Okay, we've got Dale Cowan now.
Love shooting birds. This might have actually been done at Sandy Ridge. If you're going to do this, I think you need to make a decision. Do you want to make a silhouette of the bird, or do you want to show more details? You can go either way with this. I would personally try to bring up the shadow details and show more details of the bird. However, if you wanted to make this a silhouette, that would be pretty striking as well. So, you know, you can play with the sliders both ways. And also, I'd crop in a little bit tighter. I don't think we need the bushes on the right. I'd make this a strong vertical. That's what the bird is, a vertical.
could even drop the highlights a little bit.
Actually, the bushes might be better than that blue log sticking out.
Comment was if you're going to crop, let's try the bushes better than the log.
Yeah, that's where the bird's looking.
The bird is looking in that direction. Good point.
Yeah, I would bring that right in a little bit more to get rid of that highlight white spot in the bottom right.
Ah.
That's a beauty too. A little hot in the highlights. I like the diagonal that the three, are they orchids? I'm not a, yeah. I like that they're on that diagonal across the image. I'd also maybe cut down a little on that on the background, up at the top.
You mean crop it out, or
Well, I don't think you could crop it.
what do you mean
without-
cut down on the background?
Yeah, cut,
Ha-
just drop the.
Do a vignette or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
While he's doing that, just a comment, I'm not by any means a flower expert or shooter or anything, but one of the things I've found is if we get a lot of Cleveland cloudy days, and those are really good days where you don't have this problem of the hot spots and the deep shadows and so forth. So if you can't get a typical Cleveland day, they make little diffusers that are they go about a foot in diameter, and they're usually enough to cover a flower, and you just hold that in a path between the sunlight and the flower, and it solves that problem.
Really advertising that class very well.
It's the best
Well,
class, right?
this new masking tool, it's just a couple months old maybe, but it does some incredible things. And I'm still kind of learning to use it myself, but you can pick the subject, and it does a really pretty amazing job of picking the subject, and then you can invert it and work with everything else except the subject. It's really made it incredibly easy to do some things that were harder to do before. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. We've got Dave Korosek.
Nice wildlife shot. I love the way it's resting. The way it's looking into the frame, that's good. Highlights are a little hot, particularly the grass in the foreground. So I'd either burn or tone that down, however way you choose. And I would also crop it in from the top to concentrate just past that right there, and see how you get rid of that highlight that was up in here. That was distracting. So you get rid of that, crop a little bit, concentrate your gaze on the cat, burn the foreground grass down a little bit, and that'd be a really nice image. Hang that one on the wall.
I would lighten his ear a little bit.
She said lighten the ear up a little bit. Somebody said something about a
Guys are
log.
killing me.
The kind of the log on the left, I'm not sure if the foot is behind it or resting on it, but that's kind of,
You might even, because the foot's behind it and therefore already cropped a little bit, maybe if you crop that out, that would also be one less distraction on the edge.
yeah.
That would be one you could take into Photoshop and clone grass over that little rock.
Yeah. I think you're right, I agree with the rock, and you wish there was, at the time, you could just walk over and move the rock. I would not do that.
Cat would have torn you apart.
But with cropping over, you're kind of, the feet are going off the frame, and that's a little hard. Yeah, that. Let's see. Yeah, don't have to crop as much of the rock? Of the foot, yeah. Of the foot? You mean just have a little, like that?
You can try a spot heel with, set it to clone and have it grab some grass. Make sure you set it to clone, though.
I can't resist telling a little story from when I worked. I worked at Dodd for 6 years and did a little bit of the editing for people. And somebody came in one time and asked us to remove a person that was standing in front of a group of people, and expected that if we removed that person, the other people would be behind them. And it was like, hard to know what to say. So if you remove that rock, the foot's there.
I'm sure some AI product will soon do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably need to go where it's a little darker, yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Let me add that if you had more time at home, what they're saying with these tools, the content aware, the healing, the coding, you could really get that out well, too. We're just kind of working on the fly here, and I've screwed it all up, so we get the idea. But, let's see. Okay. Yes, that's yours. That's. You got Elaine Joseph.
Is this mine, or did you go in? Okay. This is really nice. There's a lot of detail in the gull, I guess that is, and it still stands out from that bright background. The eye is clear. I guess the only thing I would maybe recommend is lightening the beak a little bit to see a little more detail in the beak without losing the interesting colors there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then a vignette, maybe a little bit of vignette to darken the corners a little. That's good.
Did you say a little vignette in the corner?
Yeah, or darkening the background, either one. It's just a titch. Yeah, that might be a little more attractive than darkening the whole background, yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, he stands out a little more now.
Can you up the texture a little bit? I'm just wondering if that even bring out more texture in the feathers.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. What, this is a
Yeah.
rescue on a,
That was an actual rescue?
an actual rescue?
Someone's very sick, and they rescued, that's a guy coming off the helicopter to go down and help the people in the boat. And eventually, the helicopter almost landed on the ship, maybe a couple inches off.
Is that a ferry that he's taking them off of?
No, it's a cruise ship.
Okay, cruise ship. I said, that's an awfully big boat. So you were at the right place at the right time. I think I'm okay with the crop. I was gonna suggest something with the crop. Of course, one thing you can't, maybe you could do this in Photoshop, but whenever you're shooting aircraft like this with propellers, you want to slow your shutter speed down a little bit because the frozen blades make it look like it's gonna fall out of the sky. But that's something you got to really think about, and this looks like it was a quick grab.
But aren't you stuck here because if they're lowering or raising that guy up and he's moving, if you use too slow a shutter speed, you might blur him.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I would probably like have my finger on the dial, whether you're shooting after shutter, change your after it's gonna change your shutter, or if you're in shutter priority, just roll through them really quick. It just takes several different shutter speeds, because it's really difficult to tell. Helicopters are different than propeller airplanes, and it's kind of a trial and error.
Because what's interesting too about this too is, you look where he is in relation to everything else. Another quarter of a second, and he could be below. If he's being lowered below the bar, you kind of miss the shot. So I have sympathy for making one choice. And
Yeah. So since we're playing with Lightroom, I would try the highlights and see if we can't open up the shadows in the helicopter itself. Maybe you see the guy in the door. Yeah.
I kind of was looking at that as a documentary, and I don't know how much I missed that.
Yeah, it might not be possible because it's so dark there.
Was this a pocket camera?
No, it's a Sony RX-10, a 4.
okay, we've got Elder Baroni.
Love the white snow scene. You actually look like you were out in the weather doing this, so kudos for that. This really looks nice. If I were going to improve it, my suggestion would be crop just a little bit from the top and take out about half the white plain foreground and make this more of a panorama. And I think if you do that, your eyes will now drift left to right throughout the photograph, and it's just be a little bit more pleasing, concentrating on what's in the middle there. And then Richard, bring the bottom, crop up from the bottom and take out about half of the snow.
I hit a wrong button. I could use, Mike, your expertise. I think I hit an S before, and it's making proof copies of every one. Is there, how do you get out of that?
Yeah, just Control Z back or go to history.
Yeah, we're on history. Wait. Yeah, see, it makes several copies.
Well, just go back to the original then and
Right, that's what I've been doing. Every time I open one, it automatically makes a proof copy. So is there some permanent setting that has told it to do that?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay, we'll proceed then.
Open one of the proof copies or is it a proof copy or a virtual copy?
It said,
It's a virtual copy, I think. Just
okay,
try-
yeah, it's a virtual. It's a
Try
turn-
working on that, see what happens.
Okay. All right, because it says proof preview. Okay, let's work on that.
Yeah, it looks like it already cropped the sky some. Just come up
Yeah.
from the bottom, a little bit more right there.
Okay.
Yeah, you could turn that
There
off.
it is. I think it was the
Okay.
soft proofing it was
Yeah.
doing. Okay.
And one other little suggestion, your exposure, bring the dark slider up to darken the darks a little bit. And I do that with the exposure. Just darken, just a touch, right there. saying the vignette on the right corner, right lower corner, should that be lightened? There's a little bit on the left too, Richard, just slightly darker.
It's a cute shot. Exposure looks good overall. If anything, I guess I would think about cropping the guy on the right out.
Yeah.
I just want to look at him, and I shouldn't be wanting to look at
Yeah,
him.
he's half cropped anyway.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
There.
And the highlights could maybe come down a little bit, but
Which one? What?
the highlights maybe down a little bit, but
Come down a little bit?
yeah, yeah. No,
That-
I was saying the highlights.
Oh, the highlights, okay.
Yeah, it's a little better, I think.
And you were going to say, you were going to... A square? Well, it's kind of square already,
Pretty close, yeah.
yeah. But I agree, the square format, maybe, let's see, a little... I really like it. It's a nice capture because it just gets, you don't have, this is just a second in time. It doesn't exist a second from now. And the kid is looking real good down here. He's kind of toward the face of the guy on the right. She's not completely turned away from you. And again, a half second later, that's not going to exist. So it's just that guy smoking on the right. Very nice. Now, as a street shooter, I really appreciate ones like this because these are not easy to get. All right, Eric. Eric Botsky?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I need to say. Just, well, I don't know if there's anything we can change here. Eric, you've been nailing a lot of good shots in competition too, and this looks like one of them. I honestly don't know that I do anything. If you're really careful with it, occasionally darkening the corners helps bring the subject out a little bit, but you got to really be careful with it. The exposure's right on. I love the capture of the snowflakes. You got a little diagonal there to give it some interest, and it looks like the lion's enjoying the snow.
Yeah, this is really beautiful. I agree with everything Chris said. And I was looking at this bottom right, it'd be nice to crop that out, and I was looking at it. However, with the lion looking to the right side, that would put it too close to the edge, and it really wouldn't work. And I think it's perfect like this.
What's really nice about this too is the contrasting colors. You got the orange of the lion against kind of the blue of the log in the background, or bluish tint.
One thing I would try if it were my picture would be to see if I could bring a little more detail out in the eye. I don't know if you can or not, but be interesting to see.
What I did is just, you could work specifically just on the eye, but I just brought up
Yeah.
texture immediately. But I think it's a beautiful capture.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job, Eric. This is okay.
Another good shot of a cat. The same thing applies, though, if you're going to shoot wildlife, if you can try to capture the eye a little bit better. That one's. Oh, well, okay. If it doesn't have an eye, that makes it a little tougher to do.
Oh, I didn't know. I was looking at the same thing. Right, since
Yeah.
Eric pointed it out, it's blind. There's no eye there.
Okay. Well, not having known that, that's the first thing I noticed was no eye. So now that you explained it, that makes it better. In the nitpicky department, that snow coming up is such a defined line and so much more in focus than the rest of the background. I would blur or soften that little area. Otherwise, it's a great photo.
Or you're saying
That would be
crop-
tough. That would be a tough
Let's-
crop.
You're saying crop what out?
That little white snow.
Bring the top down to,
Oh, this white snow up there.
yeah, bring the top down to the tiger's back so that, no. So that the diagonal of the back goes right out into the corner right there.
But you still have to get rid of that more in focus white area. That's my point.
Yeah. You're talking about this white here, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the background, it's nice soft
Yeah.
bokeh except for that, and because that's the only place that makes it stand out. So you need to blur it, soften it,
Right.
smudge it, something just to soften those lines.
And this is where, or this pure, there's no answer to this. This is where that artistic thing comes in, is basically is, if you look at this as just raw material, I would say this picture is great, but you had no control over this little thing here too, is with content aware, so you could take that out. You took out some other things too. Yeah. So it's basically, yeah. I love it. Was this through glass? Oh.
One thing you could try, Richard, is go to the hue and saturation. Yeah, and do a target adjustment on the, let me think. I would probably do the luminance. I'm just trying to make that orange stand out a little. Again, same idea, the orange and the blue kind of contrasting colors. No, it wouldn't be, yeah, you probably would need to darken a little bit, maybe even change the hue slightly. It's just a playing on those, the blue versus blue and orange together. Bluish tint and orange. Yeah, it might be a little too much, but I think that helps a little bit. It is a great capture, though.
Yeah, we're kind of, it's really just a beautiful shot. Okay. You got Gary Marriage?
Wow. Boy. The only thing I think I'd do here is maybe crop up a little bit from the bottom, keep a little bit of the sky reflection in there, but I don't think you need as much as there is.
Tell me when.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
I agree. That's,
I don't think anything else I'd do with it.
Okay, I'm going to pose this as a question to everybody. should not the reflection be a little darker than the sky actually is? So if you darkened that blue and white, wouldn't that help concentrate your eye back on the building?
You're saying
In the
just
reflect-
in generally darken a little?
Yeah, even if you just use a burn tool and
Yeah.
burn the blue and the white reflection
Yeah,
at the
gonna-
very bottom, because that really is lighter than the sky above,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore attracts your eye.
I'll burn a little, then I'll back off a little, let's see.
Just
the
on the
very
blue
bottom.
portion.
Just
on
the blue and the white, Richard.
Just
Yeah, the
the-
bottom there.
Just, okay, just the blue down there.
Yep.
Okay. I'll back off this. Let's see. It's hard.
What if you took out the sky completely from the bottom?
Interesting, that's. Here, there's no right, you're right, and this is one you can go back and forth. You know, I like all of them. I like the original, it just is, I bet if we took a vote, you get a 50-50 thing, there's no. But just the right time of day and just beautiful. Excellent. Let's see.
Wow, it's got a lot of impact. First thing, probably everybody noticed, we're gonna lose the lake out of the left-hand side of the picture. But I like everything else about it. So, Richard, if we can level the lake out. It's not much, but it's, at least it was noticeable to me. Or is it just me? Playing tricks with my eyes.
I think it's an optical illusion.
Yeah,
It is.
Lake
It
is,
is.
is kind
The
of,
sand
yeah.
dunes are making an optical illusion.
Yeah.
But the sky is just awesome, and that really makes the print, and that contrast. You've got the color of the water dividing between the blue of the sky and the brown in the foreground. It's got a lot of impact.
I was thinking that, too. Let's, maybe,
Try bumping the shadows a little bit too, see if some of the dark in those, just a little.
you mean open the shadows up a
The
little?
shadows up, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so,
Especially in the grassy area there. So you may not need to do it for everything, but
yeah.
I kind of liked the little bit of, there was a little, those little beginning of dunes on the left that kind of brought you back into the image.
yeah, I agree. I think that looks kind of,
Yeah.
I think it might look nice in black and white. I think it would be fun to see what it would be like in black and white.
You think about in black and white to see what it looks like?
With a few adjustments, but I think it could be.
That is, and you could always,
It's
going
good.
down here, let's see what happens if we,
Yeah, darken the
Darken the
sky.
blues.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's more impactful.
there, that's,
maybe lighten you might want to lighten ever so slightly the foliage of grass.
Lighten the foliage a little
Tiny
in the
bit.
ground. Let's see if I could
Get a
do
little
that.
more detail and shadows.
Yeah.
So this is. Yep, there's a lot you could do, and sometimes it's hard to determine which one you like best. But yeah, this with that dramatic sky, this works well, and
But I couldn't see that.
very nice. Okay. George Klepet.
Nice portrait. I like the 3/4 length. I really like 3/4 length because most people don't shoot that very often anymore. Your lighting for a woman, and I used to be a portrait photographer, is a little harsh. I don't know if you know about lighting ratios, but the highlights are just a hair hot and the shadows a little deep for a woman. You usually use a little bit lower ratio when you shoot women because honestly, that kind of lighting brings out flaws in the skin. And I know it sounds misogynist, but women like to have smooth skin. And with men, it's called character. That's not fair, but that's just what it's called.
There it is with a, yeah, we took down the highlights a little and just opened up the shadows a tiny bit.
Now lighten the overall, I mean, see now the face is too dark.
Face is too dark. so
Look
lighten
at it on the side monitors, though. It looks different.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's very different on the side monitors.
Okay, that's much better than the projection. Side monitor's a lot
Yes,
better.
I should have said that in the beginning. This is one thing you'll find with your pictures. This is a projection screen up front. This tends to really darken, you know, the darks and whatnot, and it looks completely different sometimes on the front projection, or unfortunately what you people are looking at home, than it does on the side monitors as well. And I have two monitors up in front of me, and it's different on each one. So, you know, the importance of calibrated monitors, but as we do these things, this projection and whatnot, if you notice some of our comments, you look on the side monitors are a lot more accurate. Okay. No one wants to touch this one. There's this pause here, the dead air.
Still looking, still looking.
They were hoping.
I think, yeah, I would maybe try to cut back on the highlights and pick up the shadows a little bit. Maybe see a little bit of more detail in the geese's heads. Yeah, yeah.
I heard someone mention the word crop in the audience.
They
Were there
suggested cropping the
suggestions?
top down a
Dale,
little.
you thought? What'd you think, top down? A little? Actually make it almost like a panorama, put them right in the center. Actually, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I'd like this kind of as like a panorama type thing.
I'd like to see the shot 1 second later.
You want to see the comment was to see the shot 1 second later. That's why we have the burst mode. That's the, jeez,
One
Nice.
second before is in some of the cameras now.
nice capture. That's a, oh. Okay.
There it
Yep.
is, 1 second
Yeah,
There.
that's 1 second later. Yeah.
This was turned over to the next photographer, Graham Stead, who took it from here. So this is his first one.
This is a great action shot. I mean, it's tack sharp. Again, the side screens look really good. Exposure's right on. I don't think I would change anything with the exposure. I might bring the bottom up a little bit so that they're not quite so centered. You could probably bring it up as far, as long as you don't cut out the reflection of the birds, you could bring it up that far. Yeah. Yeah, nice action shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this view, that the panorama really works. Nice capture.
I have something to say. If you compare this shot to the previous shot,
We've got another comment, Joe?
yeah, so if you compare this shot, far as color, to the previous shot, I don't know if it was intentionally, but to me, the previous shot looks like a little too much of a sepia tone. It's not real. Looks more realistic for me.
You mean that, first of all, these were two
Yep.
different photographers, two different places.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought it's the same.
Oh, no.
Okay,
I was
okay.
just joking that this is the next person.
All right.
Right, we're on to another person, right. And
The only comment that you might get from a judge too is that the goose on the right has nowhere to go. I mean,
yeah, I was going to mention that the thing is, and this is no choice in this, to get this capture, and I could see where you're going real, to try to get on them, and there just is nowhere to go. You don't have, was no time to line up and get that as you would on a static subject as well. The only thing would be to allow yourself more space when you shoot at a wider angle, so you have room then to crop and leave space on the right. But I agree, I was looking at that. It's hard with so little space up against the right, but
If you use Photoshop though, you could add out here.
Yeah,
you could.
Yeah,
You
you
could
could do
just crop
a,
bigger
that's-
and fill with content.
it's an
aware
excellent
fill
point.
and-
He was, and Coleman's point, he wasn't joking either, is Photoshop lends itself, is if you have an object on the side here, on the right side, it's hard to really extend that out. Photoshop will just keep duplicating that. But when there's nothing on the right side here other than water, you could take a ½ inch of this and tell Photoshop to just duplicate it to the right and extend. And what you do, you could extend your canvas out several inches to the right and never know it. So that's I hadn't thought of that. Is you can do that.
you can extend it and use content-aware fill too.
Yes.
You wouldn't have
Yeah,
to,
that's how I
Right.
would do it, actually.
Exactly. You would make your canvas like an inch bigger, so there'd be white space here. Then you use a tool called Content Aware Fill and fill that white space with the water that's on the left. And it would do it very nicely here. You'd be hard pressed to know that was even done. So excellent point, Coleman. That's
How about cropping up from the left and getting rid of, cropping the side on the left and get rid of some of the splash? I mean, is that?
cropping the left. Yeah, that's a good point, cropping on the left. The problem is that's a good part of the action is that, and then you have, here, and I'll do that, but I love that splash on the left from where he's taken off. If you get that, I see your point. This might, yeah, that's a good point. It's a hard one.
You still have some splash there.
Love the repetition on this.
I was just making sure this is incorrect, but it is. It's in correctly and not rotated. But yeah, that's the way it was submitted.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes you, you stare at it to try to figure out what you're looking at. So I'm not quite sure. It's a nice shot no matter how you present it. I don't know what I'd do different. The black bleeding into, well, that's partly the screen.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I'd do anything different with this. I like that. Maybe bump the contrast a touch. That might make it even more graphic, but that's the only thing I'd like to see done to see if it makes a difference.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very nice abstract. It's got, some strong diagonals, the repeating pattern. It's really a nice shot.
Is Graham here? My question is, this looks like, if I had to guess, it looks like the Empire State Building, almost, with its tiers and whatnot. You can't see the top of it, but I have no idea. Okay. Okay, Joe Miko. Well.
Yeah, I don't know, there's much I would change on this. I might crop up from the bottom and see what it looked like without maybe those bottom 2 leaves, but I'm not sure.
You mean like that?
Yeah, I liked it better the other way.
Yeah, I think it looks better the other way, too.
Yeah,
There was just a suggestion, square cropping,
nah,
like that.
I like it, yeah, better that way. Might try darkening that top right corner,
The top right.
the corner, yeah.
Of the flower or the picture?
The picture, up here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that improves it a little bit.
It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Nice, that's, sorry, Joe. We can't.
Beautiful waterfall shot. Yeah, it looks like Brandywine, or Bridal Veil, Brandywine. The thing that struck me right off the top is I think there was too much sharpening or something added to it. It looks a little crunchy. I mean, the composition is good, but I think it was over-processed a little bit.
I agree, Chris. It looks like, almost like an HDR that's been over-processed just a touch.
Yeah, you really got to be careful. We get carried, it's very easy to get carried away sometimes. But if you've got the original, which is, by the way, Lightroom automatically preserves everything. So you don't lose anything in Lightroom. You can go back and just pull that slider back a little bit.
It seems to look better on the side screens.
Yeah, the side monitors, sometimes,
Process.
yeah.
Try lowering the saturation just a touch. It helps a little, but not all that much.
Yeah, it shows up in the shale, or whatever rock that is on the left. It shows up there and a little bit in the bushes.
Okay. We have Joe Smith.
Nice shot. Love the textures and lines that lead you into the photograph. Sky is nice, it's dramatic. I'm guessing this is white sands, not sure. I think this would probably also make a great black and white if you wanted to convert it. Is there I'm going to ask if there is a way to bring out the texture in that white sunlit area a little bit, Richard?
This area up here?
No,
the
no,
white-
on the sand itself.
On the sand itself?
Just in that area, if you could bring up the texture
Let me see.
a little
if I
bit,
can-
it would show those footprints, and that leads you right into the center of the photograph.
Let me do a brush with texture, a lot of texture. Right.
Even that, what you just did, is an improvement.
Oh, that was in the, yeah, that was overall texture, my bad. Yep, so this is between, this is adding the texture. That's for, yeah, that kind of gets some more details out in the sand.
And in the nitpicky department, clone out that tower that's on the left above that dark triangular area. You got one very little vertical line sticking up right there. That's it. I would get rid of that. And again, that's nitpicky, but I think that's a small improvement.
Yeah, that's a very nice shot.
Yeah. Very nice.
Can we see the black and white real quick?
Yep. And let me see if I could,
Add some contrast?
yeah. Let me work selectively on the sky here. And let me throw up the contrast.
And one other, again, kind of nitpicky thing, but it's the little nitpicky things that can make a huge difference, is you got a little bit of a dust on your sensor up in the middle of the sky. That's really easy to fix. So, you know, when you look around, look at everything, try to fix the little details. It's the difference between a really good photograph and a great photograph.
Try the panorama again. How much do you want me to bring it down from up here? Right about there? And up here, just a little.
I don't know that I do that. You lose, I think there's so much interest in that texture on the sand,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
agree.
think that's texture on the sand on the bottom leads you right in the photograph.
right? Well, it wasn't with the second crop, though. Well, yeah, but not as much. It's not as dramatic.
I don't know, I can go either way. That's why the nice thing about this critique night is there's no right answer here. We're not going that this score has a score of 25 or 18 and justifying why that is. There's just a preference here, and we'll give you all our reasons why we think one is better than the other, but in the end, nice picture.
It's the kind of stuff I love. Yeah, a lot of detail, a lot of nice, just detail to look at. Again, I think the only thing I might do would be crop down from the top, cut a little bit of that almost bald sky out, and not much else.
You want to crop from the top,
Yeah, a little bit.
about how far?
A little more, maybe.
It's interesting, with sensor dust, you see that same, it's always in the same location.
Yeah.
Same spot right there. Okay.
With a little more texture in the sky, bring it out,
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. You know, I use if anybody has the Nick plugins, there's a plugin called Detail Extractor that does some incredible stuff that brings out detail that it's there, but you know, you're not seeing it. You click on that detail extractor and all of a sudden skies become magic.
Software?
It's Nick. It's owned by DxO, I think.
Is that the Nick, black and white?
No.
No, it's in Color Effects 5, yeah.
Try bumping the contrast just a little. It looks a little flat from where I'm sitting, even on the side.
And Richard, can I propose to crop the entire sky out, bring it right down to the stone? I'm just curious what that would look like, all the way down. Keep them going, right there.
How about, yeah, and again, this is just purely this just seems to go across the whole screen there as well. I'm wondering, cropping a little off the left or right to make that, let me just see what that,
Can you burn a little bit of the sky in the middle?
Yeah, I was gonna suggest the same thing. If you look at the sky in the distance on the bottom, it's got more depth and darkness to it.
Yeah.
So if
The
you
sky.
if you brushed in the sky above the building with some darker exposure, maybe.
okay. I'm gonna change the sky a little here. Let me do that with a brush. And let me just quickly just get the sky,
The middle area, that's what I think.
the little area down there.
Middle of at the top. It just seems like it's needed.
Okay, let's see now. Let me add a little, try a little contrast. No, a little exposure. Let me bring down the highlights.
Yeah, see, but, yeah, it's a little too,
Yeah, and we're just doing this kind of seat of the pants. You could do this a lot more.
yeah, bringing it down, it helped match. It almost looked like two different skies between the distance and the back.
Yeah,
or
you
in
could
the
do
top.
these in here. I see what you mean. So this is, that's before, and that's afterwards. And you could always play with the exact thing to get it a little more the way you wanted. Then this, I'm not sure. What do you? That versus. Try cropping the other side. Yeah, either one to, let's see if we bring that up to there, let's say. It just throws that door,
Big rock, make it kind of an interesting
yeah,
pattern.
it just throws that door over to the not dead center and it's not as long. Here it is. Again, it's a matter of taste, right? Judges, you have any, which crop do you?
I like the original.
The original one
myself,
like that?
Yeah.
Yes, I like that better.
Okay. Great. Nice capture.
I think you need that debris in the lower right to help kind of balance out the stuff on the right, left.
Okay. Great. We'll do another one here, and then we'll take a short break before we finish up. So, we have one submitted by John Paganini.
Lot of impact on that, and it is, seems to be the night of panorama. You know, that's more of a panorama. I would definitely try to open up the shadows. I'd like to see some more detail in where the natural shadows are underneath the willow, if that's a willow.
Where did you want to open up the shadows?
I think if you open up all the shadows, it might
Open up all the shadows?
Yeah, see what it
Okay.
does, because there's dark on the left and the right.
Look up on that screen too, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Now it needs contrast.
Okay, so there's, I'll do the shadows first. So there's opening up the shadows a little. I'll add some contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
So-
that.
That's our before. That, we opened up the shadows, add a little contrast back.
To my eye, that looks too saturated.
The sky looked too saturated immediately when we first pulled it up.
Yeah, I think even some of the trees do. Just my personal opinion, so I would pull back
Let
on
me
the
try bringing
saturation.
back the saturation a little.
Is the person here who took this?
John, no? I don't think
It
so.
looks to me like it might have been shot with a wide angle with a polarizer. And because it's wide angle, the polarizer works in part of the sky, but not always all the way across. And that gives you that deep blue in the center left, but not quite as strong everywhere else. That's just a guess.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, well, what looks good in the center is so good until it's good on the side monitor.
Yeah,
This one looks a little washed out over here, at least from where I'm sitting.
the original looks,
It looks really nice, and over there it looks really nice. It's just the angle.
yeah, the importance of, and again, this is why we talk about monitor calibration, because when you submit a picture, let's say to a judge or a client, you're going to want what he's seeing. You don't want the situation of depending on left or right monitor or things like that too. You want the way it looks to you to be the way it looks for them. And if your monitor is calibrated and theirs is, it's going to look pretty much the same.
But what if they have cheap monitors?
If your client is a cheap monitor, then you get a cheap monitor. And that's, know your client's monitor, that's right. Okay, so I think what we'll do here is, we have a full program. Let's take a 5-minute break so everyone could just take a little break, and then we'll come right back. Okay, we'll get ready to get underway so we get through a lot of these images. I'm going to pull up, let's see, let us go to the next one. Okay, this is Ken Humbles now.
Another nice sunrise. Is this going up?
Is your green light on?
Doesn't sound like, there we go. I guess it's just a little bit of delay. Again, another nice sunrise, shot set. I do like that. I don't like the balance of the photo, though. The large, dark area on the left coming in is just a little bit too heavy, and it just imbalances the photo. So I don't know if you can crop in some just to minimize that, because you do have a little bit of a dark area in the right. So if you came in and cropped out half the left, a little bit more, just a little bit more there, I think that gives you a better feeling of balance. And then if I did that, I would get rid of the branches in the upper left now that you've done that. And that's my suggestion. Yeah, even that is, I think, better.
Would you take out, Bill, any of the water on the bottom? Even a little bit of,
No, I don't
or
think
you'd
you
like
need.
the water? Okay.
I mean, I kind of complements the size of the
Yeah.
sky and the reflection. Like I said, to me, the biggest problem was the heavy dark area on the left imbalanced the photograph, and that crop, I think, improves it.
Yeah, without cropping off the top, then the horizon line is pretty much dead center. When you crop off the top, it's a little bit better. It's about 2/3 or a third of the way down.
Very nice. Wow.
Again, a little hot in the background, so whatever could be done maybe to darken the background a little bit. I was looking at the front screen and I thought the Cardinal looked a little I don't know, crunchy or something, but it looks much better on the side screens.
Can you do, that'll work too. I was thinking you could maybe select subject and it might let you
Yeah.
darken it easier.
I took the long route of using a brush, old school here. This is but this is the, you're right, I wanted to work just on the,
Yeah, that's better. That's better. And again, if you can think of it, or if you have time when you're shooting, give the bird a little
Oh,
more
yeah.
room to look into. But that might not have been possible.
yeah, so we just brought down the back highlights. We didn't change the bird at all. Maybe just,
You got a nice diagonal going on too with the
Yeah.
bird and the branch.
Yeah. Well, actually, from where the watermark is, there probably was more to the right.
yeah, just a little bit more to, this works great. I love the diagonal.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Got Lance Mayer.
Got a lot of pop here. Is that a moth with its wings moving? Is that what I'm seeing?
Oh, there's a butterfly
I
and
see a bee.
And a bee.
I see a bee and a butterfly, like the bee is
Yeah,
moving.
there's the bee.
They're both moving. Yeah, yeah, the battle of the bugs. So overall, with that aside, I would probably crop up from the bottom and get rid of on the left and the right, we've got colored that's a little distracting. Yeah. I think the exposure looks good. Now that I have a better idea, yeah, it's a bee coming in and trying to fight off that moth, huh? Or butterfly, whichever it is.
Yeah, just getting rid of those little distracting things
Mm-hmm.
in the bottom left and right, just a tiny cropping makes a difference.
And again, you got a nice diagonal now too with that crop, with the flowers.
Very nice.
A nice cityscape shot. I like the composition of it. If you could go back, I don't know if it was shot in the morning or evening, but everything is backlit, or from the back and right is where it's lit. So the front of these buildings don't have light on them. So if you came back when the buildings were better lit, it might be an improvement. You say somebody just said it's a morning shot. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it might be a better afternoon shot if those buildings were lit. And conversely, if you wanted to try to lighten up and bring up the shadows, those three buildings are pretty prominent in the photograph. Bring up the detail on those a little bit, and that might also be a big improvement.
I heard darkened sky. Okay, let me. So this is opening up the buildings a little. Let me just do one other thing there, and then we'll work on the sky. Oops.
What would DeHaze do?
Right, so here is our opening up of buildings a little. What would DeHaze do? Let me go, this is on the brush. Let me go to,
Yeah,
kind of affects everything overall. What if we just go to select sky? Oops. And then we'll take it and let's see, if I bring the highlights down, I think what we could do better, because you can't do this when you select, is if I go to our basic panel, and let's just kind of rough playing on this. You see there's a normal gradation
yeah.
in the morning from the color in the top to the side, but we start off here, and as Bill said, we lighten the buildings a little, darken the sky. You get a little bit different.
That also gave it a little warmer look on the bridge. It's a nicer look, yeah. I don't think it changed the bridge, but in contrast to
Yeah.
everything else, it now looks warmer.
Yeah, the bridge on the left was in the sunlight and looked nice as it was too. It was the other buildings that were done. We kind of balanced those two. You know, it's hard because this is not a camera error. This is the time of day. But yeah, that's a. Okay.
Good.
Now Melanie. Melanie Plummer.
That is the Silver Drummer Girl. She is a street.
Wait, let's give you the mic.
This was taken the first weekend of December down in Greensboro, North Carolina for the Festival of Lights. This is a street performer. She's from Asheville. She is known as the Silver Drummer Girl. She walks, well, she doesn't always walk down the street, but she usually finds a spot and she's on a stand. She's painted silver and she's there. She looks like a statue, and she has a little jar. People will, I've done this a few times. I will actually throw a quarter into her little jar stash, and she'll start playing the drums. I mean, it surprises people too, because they think that she's a statue. So that's just the background. And this is, I submitted this as photojournalism for another club, but I'm actually thinking about taking out some of those highlights and just submitting it as a pictorial for this club.
Is this mine or is this? I wouldn't do a thing. I love it. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Some people might object to the highlight, the out of focus bokeh lights back there, but to me they kind of frame the subject, and it's not a thing I would do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. For some reason, the light works. Usually we say we take out the little bright things, they take the eyes away, but it just kind of works here. And you got the tiny bit of movement in the drumsticks. I think she's playing now, because everything else is sharp. The tips of the drumsticks are a little blurred, which is, yeah, it shows the movement, so.
I must have taken about a couple hundred photographs of her, just trying to get, looking at, just the light, the way it played on her faces, the shadows. And I mean, I would have liked it if I could have seen the drumsticks maybe a little more separated, but I guess it works. I like the way she's looking away. And I do see the highlights in her eyes.
I agree with Coleman. I wouldn't take those highlights out, but there's 3 or 4 that are really bright. I might tone them down just a bit.
Which ones?
The ones, these?
That one on her shoulder and then the ones on the left.
Okay,
1, 2, 3.
those? Okay,
Just down the touch.
okay, so I'll just mask them down and, okay.
Even a burn tool.
I'll do my best.
Obviously.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's
You'll see
beautiful.
it again.
Okay.
It's really nice.
And I had the other one that.
Now, Melanie's next one was just emailed to me 45 seconds ago. So we are going to look at it in Google Mail.
So we can't do anything, but this is.
So we
let me-
can't
let
do
me-
anything on
Let
it.
me tell you who this person is. This is Booker T. Jones. Booker T. Jones of Booker T. and the MGs. He was at the Greensboro Folk Festival. Actually, it's a North Carolina Folk Festival a few years ago. I'm actually thinking about maybe redoing this and perhaps giving a print to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Nice.
I'm probably going to jump on board with Coleman and say, I don't think there's anything I would do to this. If you look at the side monitors, you can see more of what's going on in the background, but it's, it's out of focus. But there's just, there's great light on them, and, those character lines for the male of us. Everything's sharp, there's detail there. You can play with some, in the front it looks like it's too dark. On the sides, I think it's fine. So I don't know that I would do anything. Anybody else?
Would you
Yeah,
like?
the background is like perfectly out of focus.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
enough for you to
Yes.
tell what's going on there, but not enough to distract from
Yeah, it gives them a presence more.
This was a 92.8 lens, I can tell you that. It was, and I had to, oh my gosh, the ISO was really high on this.
You said, yes, you want, oh, go give her the microphone? Yeah. You said the ISO
The
was
ISO was really high. I think I had like 64 on this. So
6,400?
6,400, and I remember another
No, it
comment
isn't.
someone had made. They thought that the keyboard was a little blown out. So I'm not so sure looking at it.
When you're
but-
talking about blowing, this is really
many
crucial,
highlights.
especially if you're going to submit this for something really good, is, again, we get back to calibrated monitor. Because on my monitor at the front here, which is calibrated, it's not blown out. So if you were looking on the monitor to the light, it looks blown out, and you make adjustments, you might not need to as well. So, right, you don't want things blown out where they shouldn't be, but on my calibrated monitor here, it is perfect. This does not look like ISO 64. What kind of camera?
I believe this was my Nikon D610. I now shoot with the
Nikon D610. It handled the ISO very well because I'm looking at the face, the back. It just looks really nice.
And I had somebody help me with a little bit of sharpening too. So I have to admit there was a little bit of cheating there. But this is not for photojournalism. This is more of a pictorial.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's okay. Okay, we got Mick Russo.
That's an interesting composition. It breaks a lot of rules as far as rules of thirds with the subjects right against the edge, or at least I'm assuming the person is the more important part. But it works for me. Looking at the back of the lady, I don't know if you could bring a little detail up there, just a touch. But that's the only thing I would change on this, is the shadow behind her is a little bit harsh.
There is detail on the side monitors, Bill.
Yeah, I'm looking, but even with the monitor I'm looking at, it still could come up a little bit more.
She has a badge on, looks like she works there. And if you look at the sculpture and if you look at her, is she trying to imitate the sculpture?
There's a mic there.
She's mimicking this.
So she mimicking the sculpture? She works there, so she obviously knows what's what. It's just that her feet aren't big enough to totally imitate the sculpture.
Would anyone, I don't know what this looks like. Let me crop,
Yeah, a little bit,
bring in a tiny bit there.
yeah.
Right, because that doesn't, Bill, no? You like it like that?
If you crop it like you had it, in my opinion, now that void between her and the statue becomes more emphasized and it pushes them apart. You need the space
That's a good point.
on the right. At least that's my interpretation.
Yeah, I agree with Bill.
Now that I go back and forth, you're right. Mhm. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Another really nice waterfall shot. The slow shutter speed. Not easy to do in daylight, probably a neutral density filter used. The brush on the right-hand side is a little distracting, the branches and so on, or tree branches.
Would you try
But
cropping that a little
Maybe.
without getting to the waterfall.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm not sure. It may need that space over there too.
Yeah.
To me, the rocks in the tree frame that waterfall.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
anything, there's
I
a
think
little
that-
bit on top, just to, the.
Coming down from the top.
Just a little bit more, right about there.
Yeah. I like it.
Maybe coming up a little from the bottom, there's that one little rock right on the left there trying to keep you.
Coming a little bit from the bottom, the one little rock on the
Right there.
right there.
Yeah.
So here's we are here before.
And now the tree on the right looks much better.
A little dark. You mean the waterfall?
The tree on the right. See how
The,
light-
you mean burn in the tree a little so it's not as prominent? We could try. We could try burning this tree in a little on the right side was suggested. Let me try a little exposure.
Yeah, I think that helps.
And let me-
That helps.
Just burning it in a little.
Can I suggest something a little different?
Mhm.
Rotate this clockwise about 1.5 degrees and then crop off that white line totally on the top. See what that looks like.
Okay, let's go down to rotate. So
Rotate it
just-
until it's,
just
there you go,
straighten it a
right there.
little, and then crop
And
down.
then crop it down and get rid of that.
Something like that.
Like that.
Let me crop in from the side.
So,
Yeah, I think you need the top too.
But I like the fact that you rotated. I think the rotation is better.
Uh-huh.
Even if you left the top in, a little bit of the top.
Bill has been voted off the island. No, that's it. No,
Really, did we like the top better?
I did.
Yeah. You just
Yeah, again,
need
I
a
think the
little
color
more-
works on this, the blue in the water, kind of with the tan of the rocks. Really looks nice.
I think what's happening with that debate over the top is what I've always been taught is with a waterfall, you want to see where it's coming from and going to.
Yeah.
And
I agree, but it's just the way the waterfall is angled. It's just an odd, you have more here than you do on the left side than you do on the right. But if you turn the camera, then the bottom is all out of whack. So I think it's one of those just from an angle that, yes, and I kind of agree with Bill that given this situation where the angle is like it is, that almost is more.
to me, that's just a cleaner shot, and that
Yeah.
white on the top is distracting.
You mean try toning down the top?
No, just,
You try cropping a little?
I think way back in the beginning where it had a little dark
if we
above the
rotate-
white on the top.
Okay, so the suggestion was to rotate a little. That's what we did before, rotate. That's what we did, and we cropped it. Oh, and don't crop it.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Let me just crop to the sides to get those.
have to bring in the left.
Yeah, I'll bring in the left and right-hand side. So the suggestion was to rotate. Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Ah, I hadn't thought of that.
I like that.
That is, yeah, I agree. That's very interesting. Had not thought of that. That's actually, wow. Yeah, between toning down, so here's where we started. Very nice. Yeah, this is very nice. Okay. Got Mike Kopkis?
No, it's me. Yeah, I love night shots, but I'm trying to figure out what time of day this is. It looks like the reflection. I can still see some sunlight there.
Just ask Mike.
It
He's
was,
right.
it was nighttime, yeah.
Okay.
And that's lights from the town.
Oh.
This was in Provincetown.
I really like the crop. You just kind of like, you walk down to the people on the pier. I did, I can't, for some reason, I came up from the top, and maybe those winding lights brought me down to the lighter area, and then I saw the people on the pier. You got a nice foreground with that, maybe a tugboat down the bottom.
Yeah, I left that corner, that was a lot brighter, and I toned that down, but I liked the way the lights kind of led you basically over toward the pier anyway.
Yeah, I don't have any real recommendations here. I mean, if I was, this could be photojournalism. If I was gonna cheat, I'd maybe darken down that red buoy or whatever it is, because we know red just grabs our eyes, but now we're getting crazy and nitpicky to do that. It's kind of a human interest too. Does that look like a father-son maybe, or a couple of guys? I can't tell who's walking.
Yeah, I couldn't tell for sure either.
No, it's got a real nice feel to it. I'd like to see more of that harbor.
Yeah, I was thinking it would have maybe made a nice horizontal showing more of the harbor too.
Yeah.
But the curve at the top is really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye.
Yeah, the curve at the top was the comment.
The focus I wanted was on the guys walking on the pier. So I actually lightened that area behind them because it was a lot darker, so that they would show up, and then kind of darken the rest of it just to give a hint of where they were at, and keep those lights to kind of lead you into it. So
Your timing on this is perfect, I think. Just, you've caught them in mid-stride. If they would have been one stride further in, then they'd be walking out of that circle above it. And I mean, this was the moment to take it. So kudos on that.
I think too, what I think is kind of interesting, like I mentioned, what grabbed me was the curved lights. And like, why did the curved lights grab me? Because it's not the brightest, but it's the only curves in the picture for the most part. Everything else is straight lines, except for the boat, which you toned down.
Yeah, the top and the bottom, you got some curves. It's nice.
Does anybody know where this was taken? It's nice.
Where was it again, Mike?
Provincetown.
Provincetown.
We were on a riverboat cruise, and we were stopped there.
Cape Cod?
Yeah.
What fun.
This is cool.
Yeah. Creative categories.
Nice shot, showing the motion. I'm just curious, how many times did you have somebody shoot and break before you got that composition that you wanted? I bet there was a lot of photos done on this.
About 20, yeah.
I was going to say, to get that composition, I bet you did.
Well,
Yeah,
this-
that's well
this-
done.
This was done for 52 frames. I think the topic was chaos.
Okay.
So I had my son-in-law, rack up a thing and break them, and then I went into Photoshop, and there's a filter applied to that. So
Yeah,
I didn't move my zoom, no.
that's very well done.
You didn't
I
move,
mean,
yeah.
I wish the 8-ball was a little sharper, but that's getting nitpicky. Depicts the motion really nice.
Thanks.
What was your light source?
Just the light in the room. I think there was a light over the pool table, if I'm not mistaken.
I had no idea there was a chaos filter in Photoshop.
Yeah, that's the suggestion was that I angled it or darkened that corner a little bit. If you look, it is a little bit on an angle there, or,
Can you rotate it like we did the
yeah.
the other?
Rotate which,
Or just crop the,
which, crop which?
just
Oh, the
crop down
top
to
where
get
that bright thing is, or the,
the upper left-hand corner.
where the upper left is?
Just up, go back up a little, right there. That's all you need to do.
Now, what is that dark space? That's the side of the.
It's the side of, it's the cushion.
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops. Okay, Mike Lonsdale?
Another really cool water bird in action. It's got room to be moving forward into the image, and I think again with this one it looks a little bright. Maybe just pulling back the overall exposure a little bit, or
Let me see.
yeah, I think makes it pop a little more.
Yeah, Richard, if you adjust the exposure, looking at the histogram, you see now the darks right there.
Yeah.
That's
Right-
where.
Yeah, right before we.
Yeah, I'd use the histogram to adjust
Yeah,
this one. and
there
I think it
it's just-
works.
Right, setting the black point right there. Okay. Yeah. Well, Bill is saying we moved the darks down just before they started to blow out. Right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So here is our, whoops. Any other suggestions or? No? Okay.
It's not a human interest story, it's a bird interest story. There's just something going on there. Something you really can't go back and fix. It looks like the bird on the left is a little bit out of the focus, out of the depth of field, but not much we can do about that. Now this is really extreme. What would happen, and I don't think there's room for it, if you made it a tight vertical with just the two ducks on the right? I mean, it's an extreme crop, but it
You're
bothers me.
saying make it a vertical?
Yeah, and
With
bring
the
it
which-
into
with
with the two ducks, only those two ducks. You might not have enough room to do it.
Yeah, you could always, this would be how it looked, but you're not gonna have enough room.
Yeah. It's just to me, that duck on the left looks like it's a little bit soft. It wasn't quite in the depth of field. Is it just, or is it my eyes?
No, this is hard, because I look closely on the monitor here. It looks like the focus was on the front duck.
Yeah.
Right.
That eye is sharp. This second duck is in
little
back a
soft,
little
too.
bit soft, and this is, I think this is a real big telephoto with probably wide open, and you're dealing with a very narrow depth of field. And the only thing you could have done differently is just knowing that and setting it to F11 and, having just your ISO bumped way up in order to do that. But yeah, this is a depth of field.
Black and white is too much of the same shade.
A black and white?
Too much of the same shade.
No.
Let's see.
It's a
Ah.
water. The background better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is one at the time where I've taken a perfect picture, street photography, and you wind up with just the depth of field being too small and some of the people out of focus. And that's just, at the time, just knowing that certain situations you might want to use just a bigger depth of field, going to manual and using a bigger depth of field.
You might be able to correct that with something like Topaz Sharpen AI.
Yeah.
Yes, because with, in fact, this one would probably work very well for that. The Topaz Sharpen AI would not sharpen, but it actually redraws lines so that things that are out of focus become in focus. It's not an optical illusion. And this is not out of focus, it's not magic, and this is not out of focus enough where it would work for that as well. And you could selectively do it on those two ducks. Very nice. I like it in black and white too. Okay. Okay, Ron Balbin.
I like this as an environmental portrait, and I think it's what you're meaning to do. I wish you could get a little bit closer to the subject. So if you cropped in a little tighter,
Which
you might lose some of the sheep, but if you'd still have enough in there, yeah, a little bit, in, just a touch in from the right, there. And then twice that on the left, or maybe even a little bit more. There, right there. And now come down from the top, just a touch. And this brings us closer to the woman, yet she's still surrounded by the sheep. I think that helps it. I think your exposure is a little bit hot too. So I'd bring the exposure down just a little bit, which would probably deepen the reds and bring your eye to her even more.
That highlights, you brought the
So
The shadow off her
that's
forehead.
going to be tough because just the direction of the light, if you start playing too much with her face, it's going to look like you've played with it, I'm afraid.
I did play with her face a little bit, but I tried not to. Right.
Yeah.
She was in pretty much shadow, and it's pretty heavily cropped already. I didn't want sheep's head floating around without bodies. But
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, there's the mic there. Yeah, but your point is, is she was, you worked on her already, she was in shade, or she was darker.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I'm willing to accept some sheep's head floating around for the greater focus on Susie here. I like this.
yeah, I agree with Bill, it keeps all the sheep there, surrounded her, but we're a little more focused on her there. And all I did is bring down the highlights to here. So I kept the shadows the way they were. So you could see some of the hot spots in the sheep and the sand are now just down a little.
Would a tiny bit of vignetting help?
Would a tiny bit of vignetting help? Let's see. We'll take our
Very little,
very little. Okay.
just to bring it in.
I will take a brush.
Just to bring it in towards her.
Now I am, no, I just arbitrarily chose a value here, then I'll bring it back. And I will adjust the value. And let me bring that down. And the thing with vignetting is if you could see you've done vignetting, then it's too much. Let's see that here now.
I'm going to put another plug in for Nix software. They got 2 or 3 vignetting filters that are great in Nix software.
Yeah, brighten center, darken, yeah, darken edges, yeah.
Bright and sun, Nick?
Yeah, in that same color effects.
But I agree, a little bit of just the vignetting, not really so you could see the vignetting, but enough just to get some of the brighter areas. That's without the vignetting, which is fine, but just bringing just some of the edges. Now we just see, we see all the sheep, she stands out. Let's see.
maybe do some more upper left corner. Can you come
Some more,
Yeah.
some more vignetting.
I'll be down to 4 megapixels.
way up in the corner, yeah.
way
there.
up in the corner there.
Yeah.
So that, okay, let me get a second brush, and then,
Yeah.
you guys are really something. Okay, let me bring that back. Okay, that's a little more there. So that is, here's without our vignetting, here is with our vignetting. And you want these changes to be really subtle,
Right.
but if we go to before,
I like it.
yeah, this works really well. Very nice, nice capture. Where was this?
There was Monument Valley, that's Susie Yazzie, who lived there for
Really?
100 years
Mo-
minus 1 day.
Wow, so, Monument Valley. Okay,
Yes.
this is, it's beautiful.
Tall, right? Where's Monument Valley?
And Monument Valley is hard because, again, the light is intense,
Mhm.
and the sun. Very good. Let's see.
Wow. Not too much I would do with this either, that I guess it's glare off the rock up in the right-hand corner is a little distracting. But everything else is pretty amazing.
I think this begs to be a black and white.
I think you're right, yeah.
Looking Ansel Adamsy.
In a different time of day, the patina on the rocks turns a bluish purple. I'd like to try
Yeah.
to edit this so I can create that. I wasn't there
Yeah,
at
the
that
ti-
particular time of
Your
day.
point is right. Lighting is everything, and time of day, that changes on the rock as the color is different. But black and white, which you're not really dependent on that. When we bump the contrast up too, that's the black and white before, that's midday. But with the contrast, it kind of creates those shadows. You could still see detail there. I really like that. That's, yeah, sandstone midday is completely different color than sandstone, evening and whatnot, and
Yes.
very nice. Any other suggestions, or? No?
The top right-hand corner looks like it needs to be brought down just
The top right-hand corner,
right there, just a tiny bit.
what about it? Just darkened a little?
It just seems like there's a highlight.
Yeah, it's a glare off the rock or something there.
Just part of the rock, at least on the monitor here, that's just part of the rock it's just, there's more of that white face like there is here, up there, but it's not blown out. And it's hard, and it's not as evident as when you're in, right, you might darken that a little. Very nice. Sandy Tushner.
Wow.
I just think we should get some color in this picture.
Chris, you don't think there's enough color?
Yeah, right, yeah. That really just pops, that is so much. Be a great photojournalism shot. These are hard shots if you're in a crowd, because, if you come up anymore to catch the top of the lady's head on the right, you bring in more of that guy's head behind him. So it's, we could crop all day and not get what we want. I think it's a good capture for the context in which it is. I don't think there's much we could do.
One thing in shooting shots like this is just a reminder, if you have time, and this isn't like a one-time shot, if you're taking a few here, is this work just the opposite is the one with the ducks, is here, if you try for a narrower depth of field, you focus on the woman who's your center of interest here, this second one from the left, and use a narrow depth of field. The others will be a little bit soft and whatnot, and it'll really just bring your attention to that woman. As opposed to if they're all in focus, or most of them in focus too, is there's no real point to get you to. And I've seen that done with rows of people who you're taking at an angle like this. So
So-
you have a chance to do that. So
So
that's
just for the
one.
fun of it, because there wasn't anything else I could do, it does look like the lady on the far right is a little softer. What if we cropped it, because we like threes, and just only include 3 of the women, and just crop out the one on the right? Now we got a square, or very close.
The blue arm, oh.
Yeah, you're gonna-
But that, the
you're gonna
blue arm
chop
is
off
going to
her
bring it in
nose,
close
yeah.
to her face. One trick, that would be hard to content-aware fill out or whatnot too. When you have a situation like that, where it's just that blue thing that's bothering you and you can't crop and content-aware fill would be hard, would be to do a brush. Let's see if it works here. We'll take a brush, and I'll make it a small brush. And if you do it carefully, and this is easier usually in Photoshop, is just desaturate and turns the blue to gray, which is sometimes not going to be as distracting
That's true, yeah.
there as, so that's a little trick when something is hard to crop out, clone out, or anything else like that, is you could just selectively take the color out and now it's not jumping out at you at least. So that's a little side thing. But here's our before. Very nice. Yeah, and this, and if you could just, a smaller depth of field, so you have it right on her, and the other two, you know they're people, but they're just a little bit blurred, and that could be a very nice capture. Let's,
Nice action shot. You got harsh light working against you. Let me look at the side again. The side monitor does look a little bit better. You don't need that much net, so I would definitely crop in from the right. And get right a little bit more, right there. That's, you still know what's going on, but you get rid of a lot of blank area. And then looking at the side monitors, maybe bring up the shadow detail just a touch and see if that would help. I think the crop was a huge improvement, though. You had a lot of just net that doesn't add to the story.
The crooked horizon actually helps here.
For sure.
yes, the angle here does help.
Can you lighten the gentleman's face in the middle?
Can we lighten the faces?
Just a look, just their hair, yeah.
That would be the which face? Crop the face? Yeah, but I'm saying the
Select
way
the face.
the way it looks, I can lighten the face, but it just is. It looks like it would be technically. Let's see. Let is. We'll go into the face here. So like the middle face here.
Yes.
Let's see what it's like. This is just a preliminary here. I will do that and then bring the blacks down. Bring the whites up.
And maybe the gentleman on the far right, just their hair too.
So there, the face is a little lightened, and
Yes,
we could do the same on
yes,
that one there.
that helps.
So there is one before, whoops, yeah, before for both of the faces and afterwards. We could also, on the ball's a little hot there too, we could bring down the highlights on the ball. Let's see. There's our before. Bill's right, it's the crop really, just removing the part of the net you didn't need.
Try a little dehazing. Oh, I just want to
Okay,
see.
a little dehazing. Yeah, the sun has made a glare on this that
Yeah.
has like a whole film
Right.
on it. So you're right then. Let's see what dehaze does. Good idea. Let's do a tiny,
Yeah, just a tiny bit helps a lot.
tiny bit. So let's see. This is before the dehaze. Yeah, good idea, Colin. That was, because that was just a haze created by the way the light was. And with a little bit there, that. So here's our before. Very nice. Okay. And we have two more here. And this is Susan Mahorsick. Wow.
Is it mine? Well, maybe just, I would, if anything, maybe crop a little from the bottom. There's also some big dust, sensor dust spots, but
That one,
yeah.
I think, and this one.
Yeah,
And above it there. Actually, there's three, when you look
Yeah.
closely, there's a cluster of three
more.
bigger ones here and a small one over there.
this is,
Again, this wouldn't be evident if it was
there.
not a monochromatic sky, in a sense. But Coleman, what were you,
I would, I don't know. I might try cropping up from the bottom just a little bit.
I kind of like that pattern in that.
In the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
If
do.
anything, maybe I'd crop from the top, take a little bit of the sky out.
we'll try both.
Yeah.
A little bit of the sky out.
That takes it from being in dead center.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
either one.
now we'll,
No, it's too much. Go
too
back,
much?
add back to the bottom, because I like that darker base. Yeah,
Right there,
yeah, somewhere in there.
right about there. And we'll make,
This long exposure.
10 seconds, yeah.
Now, is this color or some sepia?
the question whether this was color or, you mean, what do you mean by was it color? Originally, it probably was shot in,
Shot and color and then
Like,
converted.
the trees look black and white or monochrome, but some of the shading in the water looks kind of.
well, let's desaturate and see if it makes a difference. I will. There is no difference between, there's import, there's complete desaturation. Yeah.
See that little valley in the shadows part of the histogram? On the very far left, there's a little, bring your blacks in a little bit, darken the blacks just enough to get, because I'm just curious, I think that would add to the contrast and give it a little bit more pop, right there. Is that an improvement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it is, Bill.
Yeah.
Lightroom's not real good with us. Yeah. That Yeah.
Yep,
That's a really nice shot. I like
very
that.
nice shot. Let's see.
Just north of the Florida border in Georgia.
Yeah.
Was that Deadwood Beach in Jekyll Island? Whoever, okay, I guess this guy, photographer's not here.
Susan, yeah, I don't think Susan's here.
Okay.
This reminds me, I think it's Savannah, center of the square or something like that. I like the composition. I like the way the shadow of the lamp on the right balances it out. Definitely like a later, either very early or very later type. Looks like the golden hour maybe. I don't know. It's got a feel to it that I think we start playing with it, we're going to destroy that feel. I like the warmth.
Well, that brings up a good point. It's the golden hour, but it gives to the white a little cast. But that, you might really like that. But let's just see, out of curiosity, if I cool it a little. And then we go back and forth. Yeah, you'd have to go back and forth. Because the golden hour gives that nice hue to the things that are colored, but to the white it gives like a little orangish thing. And again, just depends your preference. I don't know.
Yeah, that shadow mimics the lamp that's over the doorway. It's like a clone of me.
Very nice. Okay. And last, we have Val de Krebs.
I like the simplicity of this. There's no doubt what the subject is. The curves are nice. It needs a little bit of contrast added, I think. And then I would just ever so slightly tone down the left side of the photograph just a little bit.
There's the contrast. And tone down the left side.
Just those blue
Let's see.
areas, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying, just ever so slightly.
Okay.
Yeah, look at the side monitors, that's it, don't do any more.
So I took a bunch of these, and I went to blur out the
Oh,
background.
wait, let them give you a mic so the people at home could hear there.
So I took a bunch of these, and I initially just had the background blurred out and had just the two reeds there. And then I thought, well, I want to include some background to add some interest, but not to overwhelm the main subject. And that's kind of what I did in both of the photographs that you'll see is how do you make a background blurry so it doesn't overwhelm, but not so blurry that there's nothing interesting left in it.
I think you did overall a pretty good job. I just think in the original, because the blue is brighter, it competes. And when you tone that down just a
Yeah.
little bit, like we did, now your subject pops out. And you have there's no doubt where you want the viewer's eye to be.
Right. Okay. Oh, if you could go over to the other one,
So they're gonna want it to, people wonder, wow, what's in the background there? What is all that stuff? I see the dried flowers,
Yeah.
but what
Yep.
else is back there?
I'm just going to bring down the
Yeah, I would bring, oh, that's
the
better.
highlights
That's
down just
better.
a little.
It did two things. It made the flowers look better. It also made that out of focus bokeh over on the right edge a little less distracting.
So what did you do to bring down the contrast or the highlights?
What I did is first, there's the original.
Right.
And at least I'm talking in this
Yeah,
monitor.
and those flowers are
it
hot.
looks, the flowers are hot, so I just brought the highlights down a little
Okay.
too. And then though, what that did is it brought the contrast down a little too, so I just bumped the contrast up, not wanting to
I-
make the flowers hot again, so I just.
I see, okay,
And
yeah.
that, so it's a little bit knock down the highlights and then a bump up in the contrast. Got to be careful, if you bump up the contrast too much, it's going to lighten, get back to making that hot, but that's,
Yeah, the
that
flowers.
combination. Now I can see the detail in all of but it's still bright white, so.
Yeah, it's a problem with sunlight.
Yeah, and then you could play with it. I mean, this is just down and dirty kind of thing, too. You could play with your highlights thing, too, to say, well, maybe just a little brighter than that, and I could come down a little more from there to there. So now here's my original. Here, so you could get it so it's just the way you want it.
Yeah, I don't know who it was that mentioned if you can just hold some kind of clear plastic over the main subject so that it's not as brightly lit.
Or like a diffuser.
Yeah, like a diffuser.
diffuser.
Then those flowers would have been better exposed with the background still being exposed the way it is.
I really like the background. It's just
Yeah.
the bokeh there. I could see those are flowers down in the bottom right here, and they're just, if they were a little more in focus, that would be too busy. If they were more blurred, I couldn't tell what they were, but so it's just, it's like an abstract
Yeah.
painting almost.
They're like, you ever see like on roses when all the petals go away, there's that
Oh, yeah.
bud left?
Bud left.
Yeah.
That's what that is, because I took this picture about a month ago in Bradley Woods. So those flowers are dried out from last summer, and then everything else is also dry, kind of dried out
Now,
from the summer. And
I'll ask our panel this. This is a really beautiful picture, but because our job is to nitpick.
Oh, right.
This is.
No,
what
I
is-
like this.
What does the panel feel about? There's something about the bottom left, which is because it's not complete. It's like a cut off.
Yeah.
The red flower there too. If I just take that, we'll see a before and after. I'll try to quickly take that out. And take it from here. Something like that. So
Yeah,
here's our. wait a
That's
second.
better.
There's before.
I like it there, but I would like it all there, so I would go I would go into Photoshop and clone one off of the right and
Yeah, that's an
Bring it
interesting
into
point.
the
You're right.
left.
It's not that not liking it there.
Yeah.
I would like it all there or
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
And there was a good point by Coleman, which is you have some good ones on the right, and carefully you could take this out, and then carefully put one of those
yeah.
in, or just take it out. And
yeah,
again,
I
it's-
like it better with it out, but
Yeah. It comes down to your vision again.
Yeah.
Whatever the picture is raw material, just however you like it. Just the post-processing gives you the, advantage to. Very nice.
yeah. Thanks.
Okay, well it's 10 o'clock and that completes our night. I want to thank you all very much for submitting photos. So first of all, an applause to all those who submitted photos. too. And this has been a very popular event, and I plan on having more of these. So those of you at home and here, and the pictures we didn't get to, hold on to those, and we're going to make this kind of a regular event if people want. So thank you very much, and have a safe evening.